What's up, sons? It's Blind Rod with Son of a Tech once again, and today we're going to have an overview of the Seasonic Focus Gold 650 watt power supply, so let's get to it. The Seasonic Gold Focus 650 watt power supply is 80 plus gold, hence in the name there. And we're going to be doing mainly an overview just to see if it meets your needs on a very basic level. If you're looking at more technical, review of this, I'll leave some links to trusted articles in the description below. I just don't have the tools to really test that in depth. But what you're looking at is a power supply that's 140 millimeters wide, 150 millimeters long, and 86 millimeters high. So do the measurements for the case that you're purchasing to make sure that it's going to fit your needs. It is shorter, so it's not a super long one or anything like that. It should fit in pretty much any ATX case that you're looking at, and even go down to some of the mini ITXs and so on. Like I said, that's just the information for you guys to go check for yourselves. Now, it is fully modular and it supports 4 plugs on the rear for peripherals, so we're talking about SATA or of course, something like Molex adapters on the rear there. Now, out of the box, as far as cabling goes, in this particular matter, it comes with 2 SATA and 2 Molex, so just make sure that you order additional cables if you're going to need them. And then it has 5 CPU/PCIe shared plugs or ports on the rear. For those 2, they are shared. You can interchange them how you see fit. Now, it actually only comes with 1 CPU additional power in the box, as well as 2 PCIe plugs or cables in the box as well. So if you're going to need to add additional cables, make sure that you're aware of that. For example, if you have something like the X399 Tai Chi motherboard, you're going to have an additional CPU power, so you're going to need to order an additional cable. Now, that being said, make sure that you go to a PSU calculator and make sure that you're not using too much power in the case of adding on an additional CPU power and maybe an SLI setup or something like that. Now, that being said, of course, you're going to be able to get quite a lot of power out of this, but it is best at its 50% load, where it has 90% efficiency. So in this case, that would be 375 watts at load. You would still have a 90% efficiency. Anything above that's going to knock it into that 80% efficiency range. That's really up to you. I don't mind going over that. However, for peak performance, obviously you're going to want to keep it at about 50% load. Now, it does have a hybrid mode for the fan, and this hybrid mode is essentially either you can have the fan running at all times, or you can have it running only when it's at load. If the button is depressed on the rear next to the plug itself, then that leaves the fan off at load, and if the button is pressed in, it turns the fan on at all times. Now, speaking of the fan, it should have a pretty good longevity, as it is a 120 millimeter fluid dynamic bearing fan, and that's just one of the better technologies for, of course, the bearings there. You should be good to go, even if you decide to run at all times with the button pressed in. Now, one of the unique things about this particular power supply on the interior design, it is a cable-free connection design to reduce human error. So instead of having a board that receives all of the modular plugs and then a human goes in there and solders the connections between the board and the rest of the power supply to supply power to the devices you're plugging in, this actually runs on connections on a PCB and is done without human interaction there, and will obviously reduce costs for them and then passes on a more reliable product to us. So pretty neat there. And that pretty much covers everything about this power supply that you could need to know. If you have any more questions about it, please let me know in the comment section below, and I'll try to answer it to the best of my ability. This is going into the PC mod that we are aptly naming McLaren, because the client is a fan of McLaren's. If you're interested in that project, you can check out the vlog up here in the corner, or just also hit the bell next to the subscribe button so you get notifications when I upload. Don't forget to leave a like, and I will see you next Tuesday.